Well, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of DLD, I still have to remember how it works, because I was a professional journalist 35 years ago, and then I went to politics and mixed it all up. So I tried to go back to a serious way of doing things on a very serious element, because it has to do with the content industry. And so the content industry was something I am in since decades now. And we have spoken yesterday that there will be a disruption in our society. It will happen, but for the content industry it has already happened. More than a decade ago it was for the written press, which had to adapt to internet. The audiovisual media thought they would escape it. I think they don't. The citizens, the people, the consumers today, they want it all. Everywhere, at the right moment, and if necessary, for no cost. So how can one combine the necessary infrastructure into ever more high-speed internet without having a digital divide, as we do have today? In a moment when the bandwidth which is needed for the high-quality content is rocketing, and so we do not have enough of this bandwidth. Who is going to pay for it? How the content is going to be brought to the consumers? Now, in order to present this, I am surrounded by three men who know it all, because they are working on this in real terms. Christian, Lutz, and Kerry, I would like to start with you. Lutz, can you tell us what you are doing in your business?
Yeah, we belong to Liberty, the biggest international cable provider, and I'm running the German business. So therefore, on one hand side, we provide the infrastructure for all these bandwidth explosion, and on the other hand side, we aggregate all kind of content for our consumers to make sure that the consumer is finding what they want.
And you are coming from a purely traditional television business. So how is this business evolving in the new world, Christian?
So in the 10 years ago, we were a pure television company. But I think in Germany, we were very active to very early on transform our linear video competence in the online world. So just to have a few examples, we are the largest TV broadcaster, free-to-air TV, advertising funded in Germany, but we also run the largest AdVOD and pay-per-view on-demand service. So we are very active early on to find the new distribution forms for TV. So that's why now I think we are both. We are a strong TV business and also a strong, still local OTT player.
It means you went from traditional to disrupted and to the new forms. And here then we do have the completely new form. Kerry, Vimeo, what does that mean?
Well, the word itself is just totally made up. What Vimeo is about is just as Christian was saying, is we're really coming from the opposite end. You know, Vimeo is a video sharing platform. It's been around for 10 years now, actually since the advent of video sharing online. And Vimeo has always stood for a higher quality video sharing experience. You know, we think YouTube does a phenomenal job in terms of the mass market video sharing universe. But one of the most interesting things that we're seeing now evolve is an open global premium video business. And for those of you who are familiar with our platform, we're really embraced early on by professionals, people who are often using the product for workflow or filmmakers. And one of the most interesting things for me about sitting here with this group is Vimeo has now started staking out an alternative to the ad-based open video ecosystem, whereas up until just a few years ago, I think the common logic was the only way that creators or independent creators were going to monetize their work online was through advertising, which is a fantastic business, and it's successful worldwide. Actually, I do have one slide that sort of lays out the world that I think will help us work through this discussion. Ben, do you have that one slide?
This one.
This one.
Vimeo.
There it is. Look, the idea is this, and my apology for this is just, I actually came here excited to get the non-US centric view on how this world is evolving. But one of the most exciting things I think we see is that, you know, as you kind of move left to right in a view like this, you have ad-supported services like broadcast services, whether they're live or on demand. You have transactional models like theatrical video or VOD, and you have premium subscription models. And they're all wildly successful all across the world, and there are differences to them that I think we're very interested in drawing out today. But the world that has developed the most when you really talk about the internet is the ad-supported world. And it's going to be massive. It's massive already. It's going to be vibrant. It's going to be global. But the other thing that's come into play now is the internet is not only about ad-supported video. You have premium paid services, whether they're transactional, whether they're subscription. And the most exciting thing perhaps of all we see on Vimeo is we have individuals who are now uploading content and selling it for any price they want anywhere in the world, so they don't only have to rely on advertising. And so we're very eager and excited about this world where premium professional content can come together with independent content, and all of the business models can be supported, from ad-supported, free to air, all the way through to transactional VOD to subscription VOD.
What I think is interesting in your model, it is not like it is said generally, video content will be completely for free. It will be stolen from those who create the content, and because they will have no living on creating the content, the quality of the content will go down. So you are doing the reverse. You are selling, buying and selling high-level content. Does it work?
It does, and I think it's a very exciting phenomenon, because I actually think that there's some element of it where another important movement on the internet, I'm sure everyone's very familiar with in this room, is crowdfunding. And the reason that crowdfunding is powerful is not just because it gives access to capital to people who might not otherwise get it. There's a different type of connection, I think, between the donator and the creator of a work. And people are far less likely to steal or to cheat someone when they actually feel a direct connection with the maker of that, whether it's an object or whether it's a piece of content. And we're seeing that bear out on Vimeo. And the other way that I see it, and I see this in my own habits, is, you know, I haven't had cable television in over 2.5 years. And nonetheless, I pay for all of my content because I'd prefer to get it without advertising. So I think consumers are also willing to make that choice to pay rather than have to root around to steal it.
But
well, you gentlemen intervene now because you have been directly challenged. Huh? You have been challenged twice. First, Kerry is asking us to present the European point of view. Is there a difference between his point of view and what you would say is the European point of view? If not, you make up one for the sake of discussion. And Christian, the traditional TV, is it still managing to cope with a model like Vimeo? How do you see that?
Yeah. So I think first of all, my view of the video landscape is a bit different. This was a kind of business model-oriented, US-centric model. I mean, if you look in the German, European market, there is premium content, high-quality content with high production value, with good storytelling, the good TV content, movie series. And this is now, due to technology, due to more platforms, distributed more widely. In the past, it was a living room and one TV set. Today, it's everywhere. And it's not only advertising funded, it's also available paid, either per view or as an SVOD service. And I think this whole ecosystem on premium content, there the broadcasters, at least the modern broadcasters, are very active. In our case, for example, in Germany, we are in every value chain market leader. So we are the market leader in AdVOD with our own platforms. We are the market leader in TVOD with our own platforms and the market leader in SVOD. So we are quite competent in leveraging the new technologies across all new business models. And that, I think, is important because to have to be successful in this market, you need 4 things. One is good content. And we have them. We buy roughly $1 billion for content for our TV channels. Second is marketing. There's so much content around that you need marketing that the content reach the consumer. And there's a TV station reaching 70% of all Germans every day. It's a huge power to promote content. Third is distribution. I think there Vimeo and all these global ecosystems help us a lot to give another platform. And then the fourth is monetization. And monetizations is either advertising sales or paid. And I think in these 4 components, we are very good locally with 3 of them. And only the technology part, I think there it's a very good partner to join up with these global ecosystems like Vimeo, like the Vessels, or like YouTube, to do smart, to use these platforms to monetize even beyond Germany.
Yeah.
Well, if you
Let's
finish like this, you are not going to have a debate, but you are signing a contract at the end of this.
Yes,
on stage.
It depends on the terms.
No, but it's absolutely, that's exciting to hear in that we are seeing this happen to exactly how you describe it, Christian, which is for markets where, home markets particularly, where the content is very, very well exploited, where the audiences outside that home market might not be practical to access before the internet. Now we're seeing these pockets of fans who would, consume native German television, the high quality content that you have, where it would never be viable to launch a linear cable channel to support that in the US, to make it available on the web is totally viable. Yep. And you can charge a premium price, and you don't have to rely on translating, for instance, advertising cross-border. So we are seeing that already pop up on Vimeo organically, and yes, we would love to do that deal.
Cable.
I would also add something. So first of all, right, I mean, the panel is called Video Explosion, right? And that is, first of all, very good for all of us, the 3 of us, right? Because we are really working and living in a business which is growing massively, right? We, from the cable business, we participate on 2 sides. One is, if people consume more videos and they want to see better quality, you need to have a better network. We have invested a lot of money in our network, so we are well prepared really for the capacity and the bandwidth the consumers are needed. So we have clearly the position when somebody wants to see high quality video, he gets on a cable network, and therefore we are growing very strongly just on the infrastructure side. The second thing then is the content, and with all respect, we don't mind if it's linear, non-linear, subscription-based video on demand, TVOD, AVOD, we don't mind. We deliver everything the consumer wants. And I think the consumer, it's not black and white. I mean, maybe you don't have your cable TV anymore, Kerry. In Germany, 220 minutes is spent by every consumer per day on video,
but
on linear video, right? So therefore, we are not only stick to linear video. We combine it, and so therefore we working a lot with partners. And think about your content, and right in the prime news, 8 o'clock in Germany, on the big screen, on the television set. And afterwards, our platform knows that Kerry played music. And you can be watched.
I'm not ready to do that deal.
8:15 on the big screen. So what we are doing, and we have a big partnership with the private broadcasters already, and we are expanding it. We bring everything together. The consumer must have the possibility to see everything. And I think the challenge is that there's so much video content outside that it's getting more difficult and more difficult that the consumer finds what he wants. Mm-hmm. And therefore we have created a platform where we help the consumer to find what they want, regardless of if it's linear, non-linear, on the web, on the video on demand library, we don't mind, because at the end, the consumer doesn't mind. And we call that platform Horizon. We are growing that within Liberty. It's a bit similar like X1 from Comcast. Right. And we are quite confident that we can make it better for the consumer. So therefore, I think it's not a dispute. Maybe it's getting boring for you guys. But to maybe underline that topic, I'm coming from the mobile industry. And I worked 15 years in the mobile industry, and not because you were fighting against the roaming fees, Viviane. I think the mobile industry, they didn't cooperate. They wanted to do everything themselves. And at the end, the mobile operators are now more like a pipe, in my personal point of view. And I think we can do it differently. And therefore, it's about partnership, and therefore, it's about working with all you guys together and create value for the consumer, and that's it.
Don't repeat the old mistakes.
Yeah.
So it is better to collaborate, it's better to exchange, it's better everybody to have a piece of the cake than in the end to destroy the cake. That, if that comes out, yes, exactly. And do you agree with this? Because you put your 4 principles down. Lutz explained how on his platform you can select. Because if you have this enormous amount of content around, how, as a consumer, you get to what you really want? How do you do the advertising around the really nice, interesting content? And how do you channel the consumer to the content you want him to choose?
Yeah, man. First of all, I agree, obviously, to this need for cooperation. With all the technology innovation and all the globalization, you can't do everything on your own. And coming back to my 4 principles, and content we buy, marketing we do on the channels, distribution is done by Lutz or Vimeo, and the monetization is our sales house or the consumer who pays for it. That's why I think this ecosystem is kind of getting disrupted by global players, but so far, since content and advertising sales is still a local business, there is still a local barrier to it. Obviously, globalization will continue, and that's why I believe that the form of cooperation we look for is in Germany, that obviously we are active in content and marketing, because that's kind of our core competence, and in monetization. And the whole distribution arena, we are very open to partner with everybody where we find a commercial agreement. And this is even beyond Germany, because we can also look on a European level. All European companies act on their own market only, and they compete with the big Chinese and the big US companies. You always lose on scale, and technology distribution investments will increase. And that's why we try to build a European alliance with all broadcasters to then mimic what we did in Germany and all the other markets.
You try to do that, or you are doing it?
We are doing it. We have now 6 partnerships closed, but we continue to talk to others. And there exactly the idea is, for example, to partner with a global technology platform, which brings technology. And then locally we bring the content, we bring the marketing, we bring the sales.
We're already doing the deal, it's done.
You get a sale, you get the commission.
No, but it is, I think what you're speaking to, Christian, which is interesting coming from the web perspective. The video industry, the traditional video industry, has always been a very sophisticated one, I think, from a windowing perspective, right? The getting the maximum value out of a particular asset that may start as a theatrical film in one market, for instance, and then the way that is windowed through different business models, for instance, transactional versus subscription, and then also is windowed globally. The moment that we're in right now, and this is literally within the last 6 months, 12 months tops. I mean, we launched Vimeo On Demand just about 2 years ago as an open service for anyone to charge for their content anywhere they wanted. And what we immediately start to see happen was individuals now are windowing as right alongside large professional media companies, meaning a YouTube star may decide to put something up as a free sample on YouTube for a few minutes, and then on Vimeo charge for a longer form piece of content. We have some put up an entire series all at once so that their viewers can binge view that, and they'll charge for that versus making it work for free on YouTube. And it's really imitating exactly what you're describing, which is why the traditional video industry has generated so much value, is this ability to window the asset in different places depending on how the consumer wants it. And for the first 10 years of the internet, the only method has been advertising. And that's just breaking down like right now. And so you can see the entire complement of content from professionally created down to individuals being windowed in very sophisticated and very flexible ways to generate the most value out of that.
In the Anglo-Saxon world, you have one language and one mentality. In our European world, and we treasure that very much, we have the cultural diversity. But that means also a lot of languages and a lot of different ways of creating content. That's why I hear with great interest that you want to make a coalition of the content creators in order to have one market in the end and to have one product in whatever language, but the translation and the dubbing can take place. Could you imagine also something similar happening in the infrastructure market?
I think that we are getting closer and closer together on also from the European market, right? Oettinger now is leading to a single market definition for Europe, and I think that will help us being on the infrastructure side. On the other side, I would also invite you, Kerry, to close not only deal with Christian, but also close the deal with us. Because Christian and us, we have already closed the deal. And I will translate a little bit what is happening, right? So the channels from ProSieben are on our platform, on Horizon. And when you watch, for instance, Germany's Next Top Model, so very famous broadcasting piece, then you can go onto Wikipedia or YouTube. Horizon knows, because he gives me the metadata for it, that it's about Heidi Klum, it's about the following fashion inside, and the consumer can find a lot of data linked to the linear TV. And then there's a lot of business behind it. And we share that business between us. So therefore, if you want to do the same, get on Horizon, and you can participate also on the same platform. And we participate as well. And I think that is at the end where we have to cooperate, because the consumer wants to switch between your content, any kind of content, and on one very easy platform. And on the infrastructure side, I mean, I think that on one hand side, I'm listening also parts of the industry a little bit too much complaining about everything. I think first of all, when you have your act together and you invest in your network and you have a strong network, consumers are realizing that. And consumers are coming to you and you can make good business out of it. So therefore, I think we are in a growing business. And we have now, of course, one development from Liberty, that is Horizon. But we think that we are in a good position for the value chain.
Lutz, give us a little hope, because when I see what the speeds are on our market, and if I compare that, for instance, with South Korea or with Japan, we are far, far, far away from having enough speeds. When I see also, and you were speaking before in the discussions we had on the very top level video and content which is to arrive now, the 4K will need 4 times higher resolution than HD. And on-demand Ultra HD will need 100 times more gigabytes per month and per household that is currently available.
This is where Lutz, he gets very, very happy about this.
Yeah. As a politician, I see as a politician, I see the cost of this, if we need to do, and we will need to do, this infrastructure, because the citizens, the consumers want it, and you're absolutely right, they don't care for all this, they just want to get it. But somebody has to invest, somebody has to pay, and somebody has to have a revenue. So do you think that with this evolution and these heavy investments needed, your revenue models will be strong enough in order still to have a good business?
I'm really confident about it, really confident. Why? So first of all, we are differentiating ourselves via speed, right? So together, where we are, the consumer gets 200 Mbit speed today. The average speed in Germany the consumer is using is around 16, When he's with us, he gets 200, right? So therefore, every second German who thinks about a new internet provider comes to us. It's very simple. So that is number one. We could provide 400 Mbit tomorrow if we would want. We don't do it because there's no need for it, right? Number two, of course, data consumption is also growing, right? It's not only about speed, it's also about capacity. Roughly 50% higher data consumption per year. And you could say, well, you invest a lot of money in your network to provide that capacity. How do you monetize that? However, we see that the consumer, because the consumer understands I consume more, there's also a willingness to pay. Yeah? And so therefore, when consumers have higher speeds or they want to have unlimited capacity, they are paying for us. There is a willingness to pay. And therefore, we are quite confident that at the end, in a video explosion for the consumer, there will be enough revenue for infrastructure business to also pay.
Christian, do you agree with the consumers are willing to pay?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think, first of all, technology-wise, I think Lutz has a good network, so we'll cope with this. I think looking at the consumer in Germany, it's really, in particular compared to the US, a totally different picture. If you look at willingness for people to spend for an SVOD service, in Germany there are only 3% of the population willing to spend $7.99 for an SVOD service, like maximum Netflix. It's very, very low. If you just would combine YouTube as a free-to-air service to the TV universum, it's only 3% of people watching TV. So YouTube would have 3% market share. So there you see with all the technology and all the content, the adoption rate for people on all these new technologies, new devices is still very low. And that's particularly low for Germany. And that's
because you have good content.
I think it's
available,
one reason is free-to-air TV in Germany is probably the best in the world. You can see almost every movie, every series is free. It's used by the people, and still all other devices are still difficult. Also, like the OTT lines are good. If you go home and watch TV, one button, you are there. It takes you a second. Now try an SVOD service. Even if it's good, you need a few minutes. And then the stream needs to hold. So I think still technology, broadband speed, quality of service is not yet there. And this together with a kind of low, like a German cultural thing that you are low in adopting new technologies is kind of one of the reasons that Germany is low in taking all these new services into action, so to say.
But when you discuss with your colleagues from other member states and when you try to make a platform, a common platform, they do not have as much availability of free-to-air good content. So how are they reacting?
No, basically, I mean, every market is different in Europe, so it's difficult to find a common denominator. But then the common denominator for all is we have competencies in linear free TV with good content, but we are not that good, not that strong in OTT. We are not that strong in investing in new technologies. And I think this is the most important point to leverage with all the broadcasters. Every broadcaster in Europe shares the technology. We can build a competitive technology to the US and to China. If every company only spends for its market, like Germany, France, UK, you probably will fail. So that's why I think it's more on a scale, on a technology side, on an innovation side, that we should, as Europe, work much closer together in digital. It's not only TV. I think it's the overall digital topic that we still have the small national markets instead of one big European. And we compete with US and China, and they have simply bigger markets and spend more. And I think in the long run, it's important for Europe to really, in this technology, innovation, digital part, to work much closer together to be a competitive third market.
A digital single market, that's exactly what we want. And just to give an addition to this, because I met yesterday night a person from the French TV who told us that 5 years ago they had, from the content in French TV, 5 million video views per month. Today, they have 200 million video views per month on France Télévisions, on the public broadcaster. So that is for your information, because you see the European market is very competitive and very diverse. It's quite different, I believe, than the American market you are mainly used to.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. It makes sense the way that you frame it, Christian. It is in the U.S. You have to remember that it's also been, coming from the internet space. It's really only now, and it's still not, everyone's not necessarily as comfortable and has the same type of view that you do, which is I'm a content producer, I have a certain amount of distribution, and I view the internet as a way for me to amplify that distribution to other users or other markets. The US has, and I think it's because of the internet industry itself is such a core part of the U.S. economy now, and the focus is generally on those types of platform plays, right? It is about trying to develop the technology first. How do we create the capability to distribute music or video or text? And we're really just moving into the phase where, call it 10 or 15 years of development, of just product development, is now at the point where it's viable to distribute content, right, of a quality that you have at the type of technical specs that are required to deliver that. And so it's. I mean, I was working on the web when we were streaming music videos over 28K dial-up modems. I mean, it looked terrible, right? But this was in 1999. And it was just like, it has to work someday, right? And we're certainly not all the way there, but that is sort of the the approach that we take, is to really focus on those platform plays, planning that there will be an opportunity, to work it out with those who ultimately control the content, which is ultimately what people want.
Well, I have two conclusions to give today. And the first one is, you three around this table show that it is not necessary to fight, but it is much better to invest into collaboration. Next year you will come here and tell us what has come out of your collaboration. And for me as a politician, I take with me a strong message, because normally I hear from the content creators that the tsunami is coming and that they have no way anymore to create good content. You give hope. Because you are showing with your business models that yes, we need good content, and not for free, but good content for pay. And that this means that we can continue to have wonderful content creators on both sides of the Atlantic, and that will be good for all of us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.